Okay, so we're reacting to some more clickbait stuff, and some of this is like pretty good. There's some pretty good stuff in here.
This is amazing.
Well, I seen this one a while back. Like everything always takes a minute to buffer through here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just a sort of like race to the bottom thing that's happening now. I feel like where like and this is all fairly old looking too.
I was gonna say this one looks old.
But like it might not be. Right? Like
I guess like it's on the face too, and
the face is always one where like I always think a face tattoo is for the most part gonna need a touch up. It's just different skin. The head too. The head is fucking it's a bastard. But like this one looks like it was done very poorly, and no matter when it was done, it could have been done 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it would look like this if it wasn't put in right. Because like when you don't saturate black properly, it kind of has this like gray look to it.
yeah, it gets really ashy.
Like, and then it like vanishes quick too. Like it's almost like it's being lasered,
Oh yeah.
right? Like if it's not in the right layer of skin, it doesn't have that deep black look.
Yeah, I recently had a hand come back, and all of my blacks, all of my midtones were okay. All of my blacks were like gray, and I was like, okay.
Oh, I've seen it
Okay.
lots, and like you see it a lot in like old school tattooers. Their black is never black, or it is really black. Like
I don't really have much of a problem saturating black most of the time. It's just
oh, you got
on the
like
hand,
you
I'm
got
like, oof.
black right away.
Yeah.
Like some people get it right away. Like, but anyway, this could have been done a few weeks ago. So, but like what I'm noticing now is we're in this like climate, and I've mentioned this before, where it's like there's almost no self-worth. Like I'm sure he got this done while he was fucked up.
or
He
in
looks
jail
fucked
or
up
something.
now.
He just looks really sad.
Well, he's gonna look sad forever though, because he has sad eyebrows and a sad mouth. Right?
Oh, yeah, they're all
it's changed-
downturned.
Even though it's poorly done, like it's changed the shape of his face.
This is why face tattoos are such a they're such a thing. You can totally change the
Well, this
your
has an
face.
expression that's
Right.
forced, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, if someone's looking like frowning, it's like, what's wrong, bud? He's got that for the rest of his life, even though it's poorly done. Like it doesn't matter. Like, can you imagine a very well done version of this? Like you could really change someone's whole demeanor.
Right?
Like fucking Richie the Barber, the clown guy that I've reacted to a few times. Like that guy has like implants done to make his eyes look like his eyebrows permanently surprised looking.
Crazy. Yeah.
That would really bother me. Like, because it's like everyone's always going to think you're feeling a way you're not feeling. It's like,
Well, I mean, women, we have our quote unquote resting bitch face. People always think that.
I have one of those.
Well, but it's a similar thing. I mean, you can change your expression.
I don't know
but-
why that's, and I do agree, it's a gendered thing for the most part. Women get slagged with that, but like, when I just am default, my face looks like I'm not happy.
Right.
Especially if I'm outside. When I used to do all those like photos we would take.
Yeah.
If there's ever any sun, I would always be like,
Oh
you
my!
know,
I'm the
I
same.
can't not scowl
You're
in the sun.
super light sensitive.
Oh, when I go outside, I sneeze, right?
Yep.
So like people
too.
just default to, oh well, he's not happy. And especially when you put it on Instagram and people will have like they have all these narratives built. Like
Yep.
people have all this baggage in their head.
I know, big scary tattooed man.
Well, no, it won't be like that. It'll be like he's not happy with the decisions he's made.
Oh, geez,
You know,
yeah, I
that
know.
comes from them not liking it, and then they're looking
Right,
for a
and
wagon
then
to get there.
they think you're having such a horrible life.
Yeah, well, it's like, oh, that's the face you make when you realize your whole life is over. Literally living what most people would consider to be some kind of dream life.
I always hate the assumption where like people are like, oh, you look like tattooed trash. It's like, I probably have
Well,
more money than you do.
That guy doesn't, though. So, like, there is a reason why people have that idea.
Right.
It's just that the whole thing has changed so much, right? And, like, there's no context to this. Like, so if you look back on that guy's face tattoo, right, before we move on here,
I know, it's
it's like this is people view this thing the same way they view well done face tattoos. And
Sure.
that needs to change. Like,
I
that
think
whole
this was
thing.
tribal at one point.
No, I don't think it
No,
matters
okay.
what it was.
I think it was tribal.
I don't think it's a cover-up at all. I think it's...
I think it blorped together.
I just think... no, I don't think it was like that at all. I think this is just poorly done.
Okay.
I don't think there's tribal here. And I just think that people look at this and they're like, oh, this costs the same amount as a well-done face. Like, people have no idea how much things cost.
Yeah.
Right? This costs nothing. And then you have someone with a really well-done face tattoo, and people don't understand the difference.
Right.
Right? I think there's some people are starting to, but you see what people really think online. They're too afraid to speak in person. Mm-hmm. And the overwhelming sentiment is like, that guy has a face tattoo, he's broke.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's a masterpiece, right? They see it like this. And it's just insane to me. And my default is always, Google the hourly rate of a tattoo artist anywhere in the world. Broke people can't afford good tattoos.
Right.
They can't.
Nope.
This isn't an argument. You're just wrong. This is what you get for no money. And there is a fucking difference. Right? This guy's fucked up. That doesn't mean everyone with face tattoos is.
Agreed.
And I feel bad for this guy because it's like, there's just about no way out of this situation.
Yeah, you're not lasering this off either.
If you do, it's going to take quite a long time because it's in there in some way. Mm-hmm. So.
All right.
It's too bad.
Now to our next one, and is this Jesus?
Well, I think so. Right?
In a cross.
And like, you know what? It's pretty fucking cool. I think there's room for a few more faces. Look at the sizing. They got the sizing. Like, you got to give it to them.
The cross looks like it's got like a mouth at the top there, and his like head crease.
It's the
like it's
bend.
gonna start talking
Right?
to me.
Like the bend looks like it's scabbed or something. Close up on the bend there.
Like
What's
this
going
bend?
on? Yeah, the
the
bend.
one that I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, everybody has this like natural kind of like, and some people have more of it.
The
It's like
helmet
fold.
line or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then you have one lower too.
Yeah.
Right, and like I have one even lower than that too, because like I'm not bragging, but I've got like this big neck now, and from the behind, like you almost can't see the eye on the back of my neck anymore, right? Because it's just
because your traps have gotten
it's just like
very large.
So depending on how big you are, and this guy's a decent sized dude, you know, you get this kind of crease there, and it looks like that ink really just sopped in there.
Yeah, and then
Right.
this is like a weird frowny line.
I mean,
at
for the
his
quality of
shoulders.
tattooing here, they hit the wood grain.
I mean, the wood grain looks great. I have a feeling that this artist wasn't completely awful. They're awful, but they're not completely awful. And this guy just came in with a bad idea.
It depends on what you mean, right? Like, I don't think he should be doing realism.
Yes.
But, like, again, this isn't a walk-in. This isn't like some guy who just started tattooing. This is the person that went to this guy. They went to him because he's been tattooing for a while. Because, like, how many portraits book in with you?
None.
Right?
Well,
they don't trust. They don't trust. So, like, when you take a portrait to someone, it's always like, oh, you have faith in this person.
Yeah.
So this is like a guy who has been tattooing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's probably learned to do a few things well, right? But like not well as in like a really quality tattoo, but well enough to fool the general public.
Right.
And because otherwise you wouldn't trust him with a fucking Jesus portrait. So I'm assuming that's supposed to be Jesus.
I think it's Jesus, even though he kind of looks like he's got a bit of like a eye problem and kind
I
of like a
also-
weird scowl.
I think the Jesus portrait was done a long time ago, and the cross is probably fairly new.
Why
think
not
that-
touch up the Jesus while you're at it?
I don't
then?
know that like
Maybe they're not
see
capable.
that there's. Well, I don't know that they see the problem. Like a lot of people don't see the problem.
Yeah.
I see the problem. Like I see the problem in my own work every day. I'm like,
Well-
oh, that thing's got to get sorted out. I got to do that. Most people don't actually examine their tattoos or like give a shit. They just get them and they fall apart.
We
and
do
that's
this
it.
in our shop a lot of the times too. Like when one of the artists will start a like reworking or adding to a sleeve.
Oh, you have to start
always,
with the thing.
You always hear them in the consult being like, okay, but
And
like,
the client hates to hear it.
I just like I have to rework this, and the client's always like, well, why? And then they're like, well, because my
Well, no
style
one
is
wants to hear what they
different, and
have
blah, blah,
is
blah,
not
blah, blah.
good.
Yeah,
And like you can try and tell them that in any way you want. The message is that thing sucks and we have to get it under control.
Right.
And nobody, first off, nobody has ever thought that way about their own work because it's on them, and whatever's on you, people are predisposed to liking more than is in line with reality.
Yep.
So like if you have a tattoo, for some reason it becomes this identity thing. It's like, oh, that tattoo is me. It's like, no, it's a very poorly done tattoo.
Yep.
That's what it is. And same thing, like you can hate something on you that's very good.
Right.
It's not who you are, it's something you're wearing. Right? So people can't divorce themselves from these things. So, and the artist probably sees his work looking like this all the time too. Right? Like,
and he's probably getting a lot of praise. He or she is probably getting a lot of praise for their work.
Some people would think this is very good because it's like we've talked about this before, and I had somebody get angry at this. They were like, oh, well, you only say realism's easy because you guys are in the industry. To most people, they couldn't do it. It's like, yes, I understand that, and that's exactly why I said that. Most people think, oh, they did a portrait. That's amazing. They don't get into the granular details of it. Like, for them, this portrait here is as good as any portrait. It's a weird thing to try and wrap your mind around. But, like, it's realism, so it's amazing. Right? Like, there's no barometer for that.
Right.
It's just they did a portrait. That's amazing. They don't have the ability to grade.
You want a hard tattoo? Straight lines and circles, guys.
Yes,
that's fucking hard.
That meme that I see in Mission Impossible music playing when the customer comes in and they say it's just a small easy tattoo and it's a perfect circle.
Yep.
Then it's the dun 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 dun.
I think
First comment, I'd rather do an entire back piece in a session.
I think geo sleeves are probably
nerve-wracking,
freaking hard.
Unless you do them all the time.
Unless you do them all the time, but you want everything to be like perfectly even, and like you want all the little bits to be shaded.
There's no room for forgiveness in tight lines.
No.
And I don't even like geometric, and I'll tell you, like, that stuff is the stress test.
Well, I mean, Terry was doing one the other day. He's working on one on that guy.
He loves
and
doing
I was just
that,
like,
but it's
holy shit.
It's also like when he knows that sleeve is coming in, he's like he's thinking about it all week.
Right.
Right, because it's like that's an event.
It is an event.
Like
it's quite the thing.
If you fuck up a line, like the day is pretty well over.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, whereas with realism, it's like you just soft shading and playing with things and fucking around. And anyway. Let's move along here.
I started laughing as soon as I saw it because I thought they were pizza at first, and then I realized they're party hats.
Well, they would have been cool with pizzas too, right? Like this is the kind of thing where, like, if they had have been pizzas, I still would have found it funny.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great way to
add humor to a old tattoo.
Yeah, like you don't need to cover this. Just have some fun with it.
Right.
I'm sure there's like a story to why. Like, this is probably like a husband and wife tattoo, and they're celebrating an anniversary or something.
Right.
That's what my mind goes to.
Right.
And then it makes it all the more charming, right? Like, there's some tattoos you'll see and you can almost assume the meaning, or like two friends that are still friends after all these years, right? And it's still actually fairly good too for what it is.
Yeah.
Can you imagine this was done a very long time ago?
Yeah, and the lines just expand over time. I mean, that's just...
But, like, the black is still black,
yeah.
Whereas I was saying earlier, if it's not black to begin with, then, that's different. Because, like, you can get black in there, and we've seen that Travis with his tribal on his back we reviewed recently. And that black is still black. It's not fresh black, but, like, it's black. If you saturate black to be black, then it stays that way, right? If you don't, then it never is. And this is where I'm always on people like that talk about my work and they're like, oh, but it'll need touch-ups forever. It's like, no, once it's saturated. Like, people don't understand that term. It's like it has to reach a level. If it doesn't reach that level, then it's not that at that level.
I'm always using the example of a bucket. Your skin is like a fucking bucket, okay? You put black in the bucket. It's black, okay? And then you want the bucket to become red. You just gotta add red.
People think about
until
tattoos
the black turns
like
red, man.
They're healing in layers, and like you're stacking layers.
No, there's no stacking. It's a bucket. It's like a liquid bucket.
I don't know where we got this idea, but it's like oh, well, that's healed in a layer and that's done.
No.
Like, you can't touch that.
It is
it's
not.
like,
It's a bucket.
no, that's insane logic.
It's
and
particles
it's been disproven.
that are suspended, and if you pump enough red particles into the black particles, eventually it's going to be a brighter red.
Here's what the tattoo community has accepted as some kind of science is like, it's like, imagine if you have walls and you're just layering walls, right? Like they're hard and firm.
No.
Like, well, then our skin would be so thick. My skin would be out to the fucking window
you're
right
just
now.
pushing more liquid into a space where there's already a liquid.
For that to be true, in the places I have 30 layers of tattooing, my skin would literally be exploding
Yes.
all the time.
Right?
Anyway, yeah, I like this a
I
lot.
love it. I think it's hilarious.
A fun way to do this. And then to end, we just have some cool frogs.
Oh, Darth Maul frog.
Darth Maul frog, and his double-sided lightsaber is very fun. I really like the colors that they used. They're very simple, but they convey the message, you know.
Yeah, and the little spikes on his head, he's like perfect.
Can you imagine you become known for doing these frogs and people just come to you for frogs every day?
There's people that do ghosts like this. I bet you there's people who do just like cool frogs.
Well, I think these are all done by the same person.
You're right.
Right? So they're like, but just imagine it be like you check your books and it's like, what do I got today?
Frog.
Frog. What do I got tomorrow? Frog.
Frog.
Oh, I got a touch up on a frog. And then like your coworker being like, oh, I'm working on this thing today. What do you got tomorrow? Oh, I got a frog. It's like, really? Another one? Oh, yeah, that's all I'm doing now.
Yeah, but this one's a cowboy.
I think you'd probably get sick of it after a while.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like that's like an artist like Alex Rose. They get sick of it, and then they rebrand, and then they become anime artist or whatever. That's the Alex example. You're my only hop.
Yeah, so which one is this?
This is Obi-Wan
That's
Kenobi.
what I thought. I thought so. I thought it was Obi-Wan. There's not as much infrastructure to this one, right?
I mean, this could be, I would say it's Obi-Wan, but it could also be Luke.
Right, the blue lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not as much that leads me to who this is.
Yeah.
Where Darth Maul is incredibly iconic.
It's either Obi-Wan or Luke. I always think that like Luke, I associate him with the dark outfit that he wears more than the light one, because he only wears it for a minute.
Well,
and
it looks cooler too.
Well, and I associate Obi-Wan with this lighter robe usually.
Also, like, I just want to say about Darth Maul before we go on to the next frog, like, Darth Maul is, you know, he's badass because everybody hated those movies and everybody loves him.
Yeah.
Like, everybody fucking loved Darth Maul, and they're still talking about him.
Well, he's the best.
They brought him back a million times.
He was the best bad guy.
Yeah.
He's the most badass.
People like Vader a lot, too.
No, he is, like, so overrated.
Vader was carried by good movies, too.
Yes, he's overrated. I think Darth Maul was the best.
But
he had the best action.
To be, like, beloved and memorable and talked about still in the worst... Well, I actually think those movies got a bad shake. I don't think they were that bad.
And be a villain.
Compared to what we got recently, if those movies were to come out today, we would be fucking thrilled.
Oh, yeah. I think even...
perspective's a hell of a drug.
Hayden Christensen has even felt the change.
Oh, fuck.
He was very hated by fans, and then now I think fans have...
they didn't understand how good they had it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and even in the time those came out, like, yeah, I thought they were a little whiny, but, like, it's like, whatever. Like, it's still decent. And, yeah, the next one is Palpatine.
Like, can we move on to the next one? Oh, my God, I love him.
Palpatine got done dirty, too, in the new movies.
Yes, but again, like, look how cool he is. And you know this is Palpatine right away. I mean, I think you would need the set.
So these have to be on the same person, I would imagine.
I think
they're all done by the same artist.
I think you would need the set to understand that this is Palpatine.
No, I don't think so.
No, because to me it's still like a cool wizard frog.
It's a cool wizard, but this is clearly Force lightning.
Okay.
Just the way it's coming out, I think. But, like, it does offer context, right? The other one was the most confusing to me, but I've always been more into the bad guys anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like, in a video game, I'm always playing. Like, I played the Knights of the Old Republic games, and I would always be Sith every time. Like, it was like, the minute you could start... It's like, okay, I'm doing every wrong moral choice because, and you know, I mean, it's fascinating to think about the idea of being the bad guy when all through life you have to be the good guy.
Yep.
It's like a power fantasy of some kind, I'm sure, some kind of escapism. Someone's gonna try and psychologize that in the comments, I'm sure. But
Do it.
you like the bad guys too.
I
so.
do. I love villains. Villains have always been my favorite.
They're always, like, characters are always more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can write in so much more stuff, whereas the good guy is always just some young person with barely any life experience and no story.
And I always
Destined
like
beast.
a good heel turn too.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially if it's hard-earned,
Yeah.
right, where they've been building it for a while.
Yep.
Right? So I stand by the idea that if those movies came out today, people would look at them completely differently.
Yes, I
Right?
agree.
But people thought Jar Jar Binks was a lot to ask. They'd be wishing for that shit these days by today's standard. By the way, all these frogs are obviously amazing. I didn't even think it needed to be stated.
No, they're really cool. They're really nicely done frogs.
They're just about as good as they could be, right? So it's almost like, what do you say?
Yep.
So I just figured, may as well talk about Star Wars instead.
Yeah.